Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of our live program Stadiums, comes to you live from Channel 2 of Saudi Arabian television. Tonight we are going to discuss or mainly focus on our national teams, the coming match against Australia, also the coming training camps that the management of our national team decided to hold in Australia, and what we can expect out of that training camp. For that, we are so happy to have with us Mr. Mohammed Almisehal, General Director of the Saudi national teams, and also we have Frank Rijkaard. He is the head coach of the Saudi team. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming to the program.
Thank you very much.
We are so happy to have you here once again.
Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, I would like to start with you, Mohammed Almisehal, concerning misunderstanding by the people that's saying that some of your authorities is overlapping with other committees, and you know, they think that you are actually doing a lot of things behind the scenes. So I would like you to clarify some of your main tasks as a General Director of the national teams.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you very much.
Actually, my job, being the chairman of the Saudi football national teams, is to take care of all the issues related to Saudi football national teams, regarding the planning, regarding the logistics, regarding the budgeting, and regarding the strategic planning follow-up for the future of our national teams. If I'm overlapping with any other committee, it's news to me, but I wish if the people who told you that I'm overlapping can ask in a more clear picture, so I can understand overlapping in what exactly.
Okay. Now you mentioned something about planning, and I know that you do have two expertise working in the national, actually in the Saudi Football Federation. And if you are talking about planning, I would like to also know what is actually the main task of those two guys, and have you seen any tangible result out of their consultancy?
Yeah, of course, we had two. Now it's one. We had we have still Mr. Ricardo Rodriguez. Before that, also we had another person, Mr. Alfonso, and Mr. Alfonso now is the assistant coach of the Chinese national team. So he had to leave us 2 months ago. However, Mr. Ricardo Rodriguez is our consultant in the grassroots teams, and he's the one putting the planning for these three teams, under 10 and under 12 and under 14 teams. Also, since he had good experience in the Spanish Liga, because he was a coach there,
right.
He has a very good technical background in football. We always consult him for several other issues, even for the under 20 and under 18 and under 16 teams. Talking about consultancy and talking about the people who understand the profession of football, you still can look at calibers like Mr. Frank Rijkaard and his team also as consultants that we can consult for our any technical decision we want to take.
Another meaning, Mr. Rijkaard can also contribute in a way in consulting you to how to deal with the grassroots and other categories of our national teams?
Definitely, of course, because they have the experience. They've been through that since they were children, and they've been through that since they were starting as coaches also.
Right. Now let's move to Frank Rijkaard, head coach of our national team. First of all, thank you very much for coming to the program. And before we proceed in talking about different questions here that I have, and hopefully that I can manage to have an answer for during this 60 minutes, I would like to know your impression before you sign a contract with the Saudi Federation. How did you see or picturize your image about the Saudi footballs? And when you're coming back now and you've been dealing with a lot of issues concerning the national teams in particular, I would like to also know what is actually the other impression that you have right now.
Now, before the impression, to be honest and fair, I didn't know much about the Saudi League and Saudi football. So my impression is the things that I lived through till now, and that's something quite about 4 months. And it gives you an impression, but not an overall, definitely saying it's like this, it's like this. You're getting to know the league better and better, and the people you work with. And you know the plans, what we want, and especially for me, for myself, what's the the philosophy and what is the short-term politics, and that's clear, that's qualification. And the long-term politics, then we come to the subject, what Mr. Mohammed already said, it's the future planning and thinking about the youth and have a vision and try to follow the path to create again a wonderful generation of Saudi players.
Very interesting. Now also I would like to ask you about, I know you've been through different experiences coaching, and now you are the head coach of the Saudi national team. I would like to know actually what is the differences between this experience and the previous experiences coaching wise?
Now, coaching wise, I think of course it's another culture, other people, other way of thinking. Coaching wise, it's more or less the same. You work with football players, you train them, and you want to reach a goal. And for that things you need the discipline, the tactics, the physical aspect, and all these things come together. And working with people is very interesting because in general football players react the same way in every country. The other thing that is added here in Saudi Arabia is the culture and the religion, of course. And I think you have to respect that and pay attention to that and cope with that, so that you can work in the best form of harmony with the players and with the people you work with.
Very interesting. Now moving to you back again, Abu Hassan, concerning also, we would like to know the criteria, in appointing or selecting the local coaches and their assistants to be working with different actually national teams.
You're talking about the Saudi nationals?
Yeah, local coaches, yes, Saudis.
Okay. When we select coaches, we don't look at the nationality as much as we look at the profession and the level of success they had in their clubs, and hence later also in the national teams they handled. I can say all the current coaches that are still handling our national teams, starting from Captain Khalid Al-Grouni, Captain Faisal Al-Bidin, Captain Umar Bakhshwain, and Captain Bandar Al-Jaythar, and the others, all had their successes, and they've been evaluated by other technical people in the federation. Also, the qualifications they have, the professional qualification they have, supported them to be appointed. Up to this minute, at least Mr. Bakhshwain and Mr. Al-Bidin and Mr. Al-Grouni are doing great in their jobs. Mr. Bakhshwain won the Arab League Cup. Mr. Al-Bidin almost was going to win the Arab League Cup in Morocco with a team which is much younger than the opponents then. And also Mr. Al-Grouni did a great job in Colombia in the World Cup. So this proves that the selection was right, and we are very proud of all of them. We're also proud of Captain Yusuf Ambar, previous coach of our Olympic team, who was doing also a great job. So this is, I don't know if I've answered your
yeah, question. But concerning about also the local coaches, which I understand that it's so good to have a local coaches actually distributed or pointing in different categories of our national teams. But if we are concerning about achieving that much, if we are concerned about advancing or accelerating the advancement of our national teams, don't you think that it is actually a very advanced step for a local coach to just hold the responsibility in such stage like this?
No, I disagree with that. I will repeat that when we look at the coaches, we don't look at the nationalities as much as we look at the profession. By coincidence, 3 or 4 of them are Saudis. So what? At the end of the day, they're doing the job, and they're doing more about the job. Also, there are also additional qualifications that these coaches are waiting for to go and study these qualifications and have them as a accreditation, additional accreditation to their qualifications. So they are not there only to continue with their level as they are now. As soon as they have a time gap, they will be sent to go and have higher qualifications. But at the end of the day, they're doing their job.
And they are fulfilling the needs that you are actually, of the task that you are asking them to do, right?
Definitely, and football is a sport, and
Yeah, I
sport
know,
at the end of the day, if you win and if you achieve and if you do better than the opponents, then you're succeeding.
Right. Move again to you, Mr. Rijkaard, talking about being a coach of the Saudi national team. Do you consider this as a challenge for yourself?
Yes, of course, of course. In the first place, the challenge. In the first place, it's an honor, and you have to be grateful that the country thinks about you as a person. And the first challenge is, of course, that we have the possibility to qualify us for the World Cup in Brazil, and that's a huge challenge.
Yes.
The second is, I think, even as much as important, but it's less. You can less see it, and that's the project where Mr. Mohammed is working really hard on, and that starts with the youth of players from 10 to 12 years old, and build a future generation and give them a good education and give them the possibility to develop themselves, so that we in 10 years Saudi Arabia has another wonderful generation. And you have to work really hard for that, and especially Mr. Mohammed is doing that with all his people, trying to make a good organization to give these guys the chance to be a future star, like you call it.
You didn't like that star mistake.
No, I don't like the term star, but I know what you mean, and that's really important. But of course, for the people, I'm here, and the most important thing is that we get to qualify for the World Cup. Right
now that's going to lead me to another questions. If you are aware, actually, aware that the Saudi spectators actually concerned not to qualify to the World Cup for the second time. I mean, we are so worried that you cannot predict what's going to happen, and in football, everything is possible. You're winning, you're losing. But now, do you consider that as an important task for you?
But the most important thing is in sports is if you have a possibility, if you have a chance, you have to stick to it, and you have to prepare yourself and be ready at the moment that the game is played,
right.
and achieve. It's not in sports that you must think on the negative side. Think of the positive side, and we have a difficult task, but come on, that's a huge challenge.
And also sometimes you're doing your best, and your best not always enough. I mean, sometimes you're exerting a lot of effort, but you are not fortunate enough to succeed.
For the result, yeah.
Now we are so happy to have with us from Portugal Mr. Pedro Manuel. He is the agent of players and coaches in Europe. First of all, thank you very much for Mr. Pedro to join us in this program.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to be live with you.
First of all, I would like to ask you about Abdullah Al-Hafid. How do you see the future of Abdullah in actually with his new team in Portugal?
I think they have a great potential to be a good player in Europe. Abdullah has been seen by several clubs here in Portugal, in Spain. And they realized that, in fact, Abdullah have a great potential to be one good player in Europe.
Okay. Also, I would like to ask you about the criteria that you go by, you and other agents in Europe, to select, for such selections for players.
Sir, the most important is, and I profit to send my regards to Mr. Frank Rijkaard and Mr. Mohammed Almisehal, which are making a fantastic job. And this is a project to try to collect some young players. So this is one of the criteria, is to be young player, and to come to more competitive leagues to learn. Like you remember, 15 or 20 years ago with Portugal, Portugal started to be competitive when some players has been transferred to more competitive leagues. So if we can help Saudi Arabia to bring some young players to more competitive leagues, I'm sure when they will play in national team will be much more experience, and the results, in my opinion, can be a little bit better.
Indeed. Now, before you go, Mr. Pedro, let me ask you, who is actually the Saudi players that draw your attention and you might sign with him in the near future?
I appreciate your question, but I cannot reply to you directly. But I can say to you that there are some other young players that we have been watching by good teams in Europe and follow them to as interesting players.
Oh.
But let me tell you that this strategy has been led by Mr. Mohammed and Prince Nawaf, and is also with agreement with Frank Rijkaard. I think is a fantastic, because they give opportunity for young players to come to learn other experience and in more competitive leagues. But replying to your question directly, at this moment I can say only to you that there are other players that we are watching and to see if they have chance to come.
Well, Mr. Bedru, thank you very much for joining us in this program, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure, and some regards to you.
Thank you very much. Mohammed, that leads me to, he mentioned something that you have a strategy to actually sign a contract or try to support Saudi players playing in Europe. So if you would just unveil or just try to, shed some light on this important topic.
Actually, one major reason why the level of Saudi football is facing some challenges and difficulties in the recent few years is the fact that, it's a fact, it's like a coin of two faces. One face is the number of professional players playing in our professional league are occupying 40% of the let's say the chairs from our Saudi nationals. On the other side also, we don't have any Saudi nationals who are playing abroad.
Right.
And I didn't bring anything new. This is what the experts have observed and have warned, that this will lead to a disaster on the Saudi football. So at least now we can start. If you start now, it's better than starting tomorrow or after tomorrow.
But Abu Hassan, if I just allow me to stop you, this is actually this is not a news to us. It's been a million years we're saying that we need to give our guys a chance to play abroad, and unfortunately the clubs always become a barriers, through that, to achieve that goals by saying no. And it was in their hand to say yes or no in that time. Now, maybe you are actually accelerating the move of that things and trying to tell those guys that it's not up to them anymore, that if we have an official, offering for any one of those players, that the chance will be there and we're going to give a chance to those players, right?
Well, legally speaking, professional players sign contracts, and if they are not violating the contracts, then I think everything is legal and they can do it. That's number one. Number two, the clubs, if you go and coordinate with the clubs and try to send them the right message, most probably they are very cooperative with that, especially when they guarantee that the player, if he will come back to Saudi, at least he'll be
again to the club.
Yes, again to the club. So
very interesting, and I like this move actually, by trying to make things easier for those players to have a chance in Europe. Now let's go with the first report of our program, and after that we're going to continue with our guests. Welcome back once again to our program. If you just join us, we are hosting Frank Rijkaard, the head coach of the Saudi team, and also Mohammed Almisehal, general director of the Saudi national teams. Now we are so happy to have with us actually Tariq Mukhtar. He's a former player of Al Ahly club, to see his input about the coming training camp. First of all, thank you very much, Tariq, to join us in this program.
You are most welcome, Defad.
You know that the coming match is a turning point for our national teams. Do you think that this will be a lot of pressure, or will put a lot of pressure on our players?
Football is a fun game, and that should bring enjoyment to all those associated with the game. Presently, pressure no doubt will create impact on the players. The impact can be negative or positive based on the player actual experience. if you are looking to our most experienced players, namely Yasser and Noor and Kariri, Shalhoub and Osama, you will understand how much pressure those players are facing. For example, Yasser now is playing on United Arab Emirates to be taking away from the pressure. Noor and Kariri, they are came out in the media. They are trying to play outside their clubs because they feel the pressure both on the club and the national team. I think that is the responsibility of.
Tariq, actually, we're gonna call you again because the line is not so good. We cannot hear much of what you are saying. We're gonna recall you again, okay? Okay, back again, Frank. High intensity. That's something new as a tactic for us. Okay, we would like you to just shed some light on how we are going to do it.
No. I use the term high intensity because you said something. You said something about the level of the youth here in Saudi Arabia, that they play in a slow rhythm. And then I said, okay, that's correct. You need more high intensity runs. And high intensity runs means that if you have in ball possession, that somebody runs in a direction, somebody runs in the other direction to create gaps, to disorganize the opponent. And low intensity is that you have the ball and everybody's coming towards the ball and pass it, but in a low rhythm. And studies have shown that teams who are able to play compact as a team together, but with high intensity passes of the ball and keeping tactically the position of the field very well occupied, is related to success. So if you stay close together and you pass the ball really very fast, but you have high intensity runs, so people who are running off the ball, not coming to the ball, but creating gaps, creating moments where you can have scoring chances out. That are very successful teams. If you miss the high intensity run, it's slow. Nothing happens.
I remember when I was playing under the 12 years old team in the National Guard. We used to be coached by an Egyptian guy. He's a doctor. We used to be punished if he saw us just standing there in the stadium. We had to take 2 laps. He said, repeating all the time, screaming even, you have to move. You don't have to hold the ball to run. Run without ball. He's always saying that. It's, my age is almost 100 years now, and I've been listening to this.
Yeah, but okay, you say that, but it's important that he teach you as well where you have to run to. Yeah. Because if everybody's running, tactically, you will not have a team. So there are more things
to it. I mean,
yes, to it.
Right. Now back again to you, Abu Hassan. You fired the Olympic team coach, in a way, if I might just use that term, who is a Saudi coach. Don't you think that decision came when it's too late now?
At the end of the day, I do not take technical decisions. The decision came from technical committees. That's number one. Number two, we usually intend not to use the word terminate or a contract or fire a coach. At the end of the day, Captain Yusuf and even Mr. Wajdi, they are still, we consider them still members of our team. At the end of the day, we have merged two national teams.
But that was not the plan. I mean, the Olympic team is the Olympic team, the B team is a P team, and
it's true. But the B team, we've been the plan or the goal or the reason of having a B team was because we know that our first team, the A team, will be. We want to dedicate all their efforts and the planning and concentration on the finals of the World Cup and also the Asian Cup, and also to try our best not to bother our professional clubs from taking their players more often. So that's why we had the B team to prepare for the Gulf Cup, to prepare for the Islamic League Cup, to prepare to any other competitions that we don't want to bother the first team.
And we're going to talk more about the coordination with the coaches, because the coaches actually always complaining about this. But let's go back again to Tariq. Tariq, now let me move to the second question. In such a situation, what other preparation needed actually for the players beside the technical preparation in that training camp?
I think the most important thing, dear Fad, is to allow the player to go to the field with a clear mind. They should enjoy the match, and our players, they know this is a very important game for them. And as much as we can keep them out of the pressure, I think they can do much better. The upcoming match is very critical. I think it is our last chance. And with the support of all the media and all the administration people, I think we should come together all behind this national team, trying to give them a big chance to come with a victory.
Indeed. Well, Tariq Mukhtar, thank you very much for your input. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us in this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back again to you, Mr. Coach. Talking about the coming training camp that you're going to hold in Australia, what we can expect out of that training camp? Do you think that will enhance the performance of our players? Is it intentionally, move into that side because you want to just elevate some of the pressures out of the players?
No, I think it's correct. I want to go there early so we can adapt, cope with the type difference. That's one. We'd like to play 2 friendly matches over there on the 20th and the 24th. Still, we don't have opponents, but we are working on that. And another thing is what you said. That's correct. I think in Australia the people will leave us working quite calmly, quietly.
Without pressure.
They are satisfied. They are already qualified, so they will be friendly for us, and we will have the right ambience to work with. If we stay here longer, here is more pressure for the players. So I think there we can prepare ourselves better.
Okay. Also, let me move to the Olympic team. Now, I see some of your players who's in Olympic, playing with the Olympic teams back and forth to your team and back again, like Abed, Shehri, Ghalib, those 3 stars actually joined the national teams and back again to the Olympic. Don't you think that would also exert a lot of efforts on them guys?
I think that's a situation to study, because my personal opinion is that it's not ideal that a player plays in the first team, then goes back to the Olympic team, then go back to the first team, and at the end of the day of the season, he didn't play a lot of games with his own team. Right. For instance, Nawaf. I think we have to study that, and we have to improve that, because that's not correct. That's not right for the player, because he will have a lack of rhythm, and it's not correct for the team because he doesn't participate there. So we have to study that.
I remember you said one time that you will not allow such thing to happen. I mean, the Olympic players are staying with you.
Yeah, but the Olympic team already existed before I came here, and Nawaf and Yaya were players of the Olympic team. I wanted to give also an injection with some new young players in the first team. But after all, is Nawaf a regular starter in the first team? Yes, if he is, then he doesn't have to go back to the Olympic team. That's my opinion. It's another thing, you see that big countries, they do it. If an Olympic team qualifies itself for the tournament, then you have 2 or 3 dispensation players. And that can be a player from the first team, of course, right, but not the whole sequence before it. So we have to talk about it, be aware, because most of all, it's not good for the player, because it's a high responsibility. And if the team is not qualifying, a lot of people are going to blame these players, and that's not correct.
Well, if you allow me, Abu Hassan, I do have another guest through the phone, Ibrahim Al-Gawba. He's a sport analyst. Ibrahim, thank you very much for joining us in the program.
Thank you very much, and welcome for you and your guest.
First, Ibrahim, do you support the idea of having a training camp before the Australian match?
In general, or for this specific case?
No, I'm talking about, we're going to play with Australia once. I mean, this is the situation, I mean.
So for this situation, I think the only one has the right to decide for long or short or whatever is the coach. And all the rest of the team is just try to help him to implement his plan. This is a specific situation, so he needs to think about the other team, analyze the previous game with Australia. So all the games, also Australia played with other national teams in the group. And then he is the only one authorized to decide how many days for the camp, the teams that he will play with, or national teams, or even I just heard today that they will play with Australian teams, and this is again really a good idea if they play with some teams in Australia while they're in their camp.
It is a rumors actually. Nobody told.
I don't know. Just
He
read it
said
today, I
that
think, somewhere.
some teams you are going to be. I'm going to explain later on. But before you go, do you think that we can benefit technically from that training camp?
Well, yeah, to be honest with you, it's going to be really difficult, and it needs to be well prepared. Well prepared mean all the team members, either the coach, my friend Mohammed Almisehal, I think he's with you on the studio, and the others, all the teams. They must work like a team, and they have a goal. This goal to achieve that game, to win, to score, and they're supposed to help and support all the coach ideas or plans to get that game. And after that, they can put more strategical thinking. They can do a lot. But now, for this specific situation, everybody must work as a strong team to achieve that goal. 2 weeks, 3 weeks camp, I don't care. The main thing is that we pass that very important game.
Well, Ibrahim Goba, thank you very much for joining us in the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love you that much. That's why I repeat your name all the time. So back again to you, Abu Hassan. Do you think that the media put a lot of pressure on you as a national team manager, also put the pressure on the head coach?
Well, media everywhere, especially in sports. You know, sports attracts, in our country at least, 65% of the population maybe are young people, and they are very well attracted to the sports, and also more and more to their national teams, and more to a football national team. So that's expected, that's normal. The tension we see sometimes in the newspapers is also expected and normal to me, so I'm not surprised.
Now also I'm going to ask you about the local clubs' complaints. You mentioned something about to avoid, making a lot of burden on those players by creating B team, which you're going to participate in different sport events. Now, most of our local team coaches complaining about taking so many players, playing with so many, national teams without even, a good coordination, if I might say. When they're looking for their players, they don't find them. At the end of the day, they are a coach and they are actually hoping to win the league. So that would affect them badly in a way or another. So how do you say that? Comment on that.
If I will analyze this issue, I'll take a long time to discuss it with you. But just to say it in short, if we as national teams adhere and stick to the rules of FIFA in taking the players, we as national teams also will face big problems, because we are going through a very difficult time. The level of professionalism of our clubs, when you talk about it as an entity, didn't reach yet the level of professionalism of clubs, for example, let's say in Europe. So they are not totally privatized. They're still being aided by the government. But still, we are trying to deal with them in a totally professional manner. However, we still need some cooperation from the clubs, at least in the timing issue. At least in the time periods, we need the players to be in the national teams. But with time, you will see us shrinking the number of days that we're taking the players on. So usually coaches, the first thing the coach will say from any team is, what are my players? And that's also expected.
Back again to you, Rijkaard, before you go to, we go to the other report. I'm sure that you noticed we do not give a grassroots the right attention club-wise. Do you think we can advance without the proper focus on the grassroots?
No.
As a team, as a football in general?
I think the formation of football is fundamental. And you have to start with the early youth and to help them develop, give them the right education. For that reason, I think it's very important to have good instructors for the coaches, so that they know what they have to teach the youth. and also the different things that you can teach the youth. I think under 10, it's more based on having fun and working together, playing together. But from the age of 10, 12, then it's a learning process, and it's a learning process. You learn a lot of things about your tasks, what you have to do to become a team player. And if you learn that, or if you learn the most of it, then you have a big possibility to become a professional player. But if there's a lack of it, and if a player just goes to the youth section just because he has a talent, his talent can be he can run really fast, for instance, or his talent can be he's a great header. It's only one aspect of being a complete football player. And if in the youth, if they don't work on his things that he has to work on, then maybe he will become a professional football player, but it will not be enough to be a new star, to be a new player who also could play in Europe, for instance.
People here talking about academy, creating academy, sport academy. Do you think academy would solve the problem?
I think it's so important, the youth. I just came back from Kuala Lumpur, and there was an AFC, Asian Cup Federation, and coaches discussed how they saw or how they lived the Asian Cup. And we all know that the 4 top teams were Japan, Australia, Uzbekistan, and Korea. And all these coaches or representatives of the federation were giving lectures. And they stated so much that Uzbekistan is one of the top countries right now. They have 400 football schools and 40 academies. In Japan, it's not different. So they work so much on the youth. Beginning with the youth of 10, 12 years old, they educate it, they develop them, the parents can bring them there, leave them there, they will train, but they will also have school education. So it's a complete package.
Right.
And I think that's why these countries nowadays have success. If I compare it with Saudi Arabia, I think, let's be honest, the Saudi players, they have a lot of talent. They are skillful, they are talented. But they are not doing the effort what other countries are doing right now, like in Japan, like in Uzbekistan, like in Korea. They work, and try to develop a good generation of football player. And it starts with the youth. And that's why I so believe. And it's difficult for the people to see it, because the people want to say, oh, Mr. Mohammed Almisehal, right now it's difficult against Australia and what's happening. But he is working on the base. And maybe it will be a plan of 10 years. Maybe it will be a plan of 8 years, but because you start with players of 10, 12 years, yeah, but that will be the base for a good next generation. Because if Saudi Arabia just relies on talent and thinks, okay, we have the better player, but we don't work, then you will end nowhere.
Right.
So I believe in the philosophy, and I believe that you have to work real hard for it, but rewards, you won't get it tomorrow. You won't get it in a year. You have to wait for it. Patient, but stick to your philosophy. Nevertheless, that people say, oh, come on, no. Just stick to your philosophy. Don't change.
Okay, Mohammed, if I might say, why don't we take those countries as a role model for us? I mean, as Mr. Rijkaard is saying, they have a lot of academies, a lot of schools, and we have the facilities, we have the mentality, we have the vision. Why we do not take them as a beginning, as a role model at least, to start with from that point?
Actually, since the start of His Royal Highness President Nawaf in his new role as the head of the youth presidency, there is a root change in everything. And as Rijkaard have just said now, issues will not finish in a year or less. So you will see a lot of changes. You will see lots of decisions being taken regarding the schools of grassroots. And I have just one comment regarding the Asian Association. One of the committee members, the Saudi committee members, met the Japanese representative there. And the dinner and the farewell dinner. 2 hours later, he saw him at the airport. That guy, the Japanese guy, is 75 years old. He asked him if he's going back to Japan. He said, "No, I finished. No, my plan is now to go to Brazil, which is, I think, it's a 22 hours flight or trip, Why? Because he wanted to go and check on their 20 years plan on their grassroots, the ones they've sent already to Brazil. So they have plans, and the plans are 20 years old, and this is only one of the plans they're having. They have other plans inside Japan. This is one of the, so you asked me about these countries, why don't we compare ourselves to them? Well, we have a lot of work to do. These people believe in work. They're not waiting to blame or claim. They believe in work, and that's what he's trying to do.
Sometimes the reason behind people criticizing people for their short or long range plans, they do not know much about it. I mean, for instance, you should, from my point of view, as a manager, you unveil your plans, even it's for 100 years, regardless. I mean, say, okay, I'm now boasted or being trusted to be holding this position. My plan for this things is going to be within like 5, the short plan, 10, the long plan. You know better than this. But the problem, people criticizing you or somebody else, and they are not patient because they are not aware of what's really happening. It's like a big secret, from the other side. Why did you unveil your plans, to the media, to the people through press conferences, through any means of mass media?
It's not a secret. I've been unveiling it in several occasions. Well, this is one of these occasions. I'm talking about it. We will have soon, either in December or mid-January, we will have a major conference with a very top professional presentation that will show everybody what we exactly do, who's working in the department, who are they, why are they there, what is the plan exactly, what are the benchmarks, and everything in details. Good. We will have that. But however, we've said it before, also in details in several occasions.
Well, we're going to talk more about this, but let's go with the second report, and after that we're going to continue with our guests. Welcome back once again to the last part of our show. Back again to you, Mr. Rijkaard, talking about your plan, future plan, regardless if we are qualifying to the World Cup or not. To the second stage of the qualification for the World Cup. Are we going to see different players, you are going to reshuffle the whole team? Tell me more about it.
No, the way I would love to give you an answer on that, but I think that if I start to talk already about these kind of things, it's like I don't believe in it. And it's the other way around. I believe in it. Why can't we win in Australia? And I also like the fact that everybody says it's going to be a very difficult game. It's very difficult. So for me, it's very easy. Because it's going to be difficult. So don't think on other things. It's going to be difficult. But if you think like that, then you will prepare to the max. Right. And then you will have the possibility. And don't forget that they already qualified. And it's a strong team. But they already qualified. So if we approach the game on the right way, they will not be as focused as we are. And that must give the difference, and we can do it.
Didn't you think by saying this, your players would think that you are not taking that situation seriously, and that would, reflect negatively on them, and they're going to follow suit?
Yeah, I don't talk about future plans because I believe still that this group, more or less, that we had, can do the job in Australia.
Okay, wish you all the best. Now we are so happy to have with us Dr. Salah Al-Segga. He is actually expert in sports psychology. Dr. Salah, thank you very much for joining us in the program. And first, I would like to ask you, from your previous observation, do you think that our national team lack of a good, appropriate psychological preparation in a way?
Well, first of all, really, hi to you and to your distinguished guest. And talking about the mental aspect of the game. It's always important, the mental aspect of the games. And especially in such a game when really everything really it's possible. The mental aspect of the games, whether our team is prepared for it or not, that's something else. The problem with the Saudis, yes, there is many possibilities. We know. For example, the Australian team is already qualified, and sometimes we're going to say they are not as much focused as we are, but that will be really, an important point for them. It might be more focused because maybe we'll see different players who really trying hard to show the coach that they deserve to be there. For these reasons, yes, I think it's going to be a very mental. The mental preparations is very important. The toughness of the game and the mind toughness and all the possibilities and how the game is set, I believe it's going to affecting our team, whether negatively or positively. Also, the situations of the game and what's happening during the game, that also must be taken into consideration. For these reasons, I think our teams not only should be really training hard, I mean physically and technically, but also mentally, because that's what is going to determine the game at the end.
Dr. Salah Sagga, thank you very much for sharing your opinion with us in this program. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Back again to you, Mohammed. How often you you and the coach visit the clubs to see how they are progressing?
Well, actually, we are almost finishing this week the schedule, a timetable actually to visit all the clubs, especially Zain professional clubs, and to try to finish these visits within December and January. It's very important, not only for Mr. Rijkaard and his team, but also for the Olympic team, and even for the under 20, under 18, under 16, and even the grassroots team will visit all the clubs.
Mr. Rijkaard, actually we are running out of time. Do you think that you selected the best players around, or you think there is other players in your mind who deserve to be in your team?
I think that we selected the best players, and of course there's always a changing situation. There are new players presenting themselves, but till now I think this is the group with the most experienced players. And of course, if there is a new talent knocking on the door, then he can maybe have a possibility to have the experience with the first team. But I will not give him immediately the responsibility, because that's for this generation of players.
Okay. Also, I would like to ask you, some critics saying that Mr. Rijkaard would excel if he has a well ready-made team with the prominent players. Other than that, he cannot help reviving any team. Starting from the scratch to build a team to play and to compete in the right way. How do you comment on that?
I think now we are doing it with the generation that we have. Another plan is to, and that's a long-term plan, that we will work on the youth. And if the youth will present himself, we will build a strong team.
Well, our final question, Mohammed Almisehal, are you optimistic about this coming match, and you think, well, inshallah we're gonna come over this challenge, and if not, what is actually what's gonna happen? What is actually your plan for the future?
We have plans for the future, but I will not think about anything except winning the game. This is the mentality we are dealing with now with our players, with our circumstances. We work very hard on creating the right atmosphere to win 3 points in Australia and come back with it, inshallah.
Okay, Mr. Rijkaard, finally, what are you going to say to our spectators, Saudi fans?
What I'm going to say. Thank you for watching the program. That's first.
No, I'm talking about the people who is expecting 3 points from Australia.
Oh yeah, the same words as Mr.
We have
Mohammed already
15,000
said.
people in Australia, by the way.
That will be a big help.
Yeah.
No, I think that it's always first you have to believe, then you can see. So believe in it. We can do it.
We have the belief and we have the trust in our team, and hopefully, inshallah, we're going to overcome this challenge. Mr. Mohammed Almisehal, thank you very much for coming to the program.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Rijkaard, thank you very much for coming to the program, and wish you, inshallah, all the best during this training camp, and also against Australia in that match.
Thank you.
And with that, dear viewers, we come to the end of our program. On behalf of my director, Mohammed Al-Arfaj, together with Musa Abdullah Dosi, Badr Agir, this is your host, Fadum Tawiyah. Until we see you, inshallah, with other guests, take care and goodbye.